very welcome also from the Eurisy side, and we are very pleased to again today to raise awareness of satellite applications within this topic of climate change. And it's important for us to facilitate indeed the dialogue between both space and non-space communities, and to give also the feedback about potential barriers in the uptake of satellite-based services. And we do this on behalf of our members. So these are mostly space agencies across Europe. So if you would be interested to join the Eurisy network or to partner up with us, feel free to contact us. You can find our contact on this slide, or you can just visit our website. And of course, you will also get access to these slides after the webinar. So now about this series of webinars, so space opportunities for climate challenges. So our most recent session covered the renewable energy transition. You can find all about that on the Eurisy website. We have a very nice recap article with all the presentations there and the short fragments of the recordings. You can also find on in this article. But today the topic is forestry. So a few months ago there was this State of Europe's Forest report, which included both positive and negative outcomes. So maybe first a bit about the positive aspects. So what we see over the last 30 years is that actually the European forest area has increased by 9%, and also the volume of wood and the weight of carbon stored in the European forest have grown significantly. So that is very good. Also wood supply, and also the same is true for at least biodiversity conservation, which has increased by 65% over 20 years. However, there are still some challenges and pressures from societal demands, but also climate change impacts. I mean, there's the usual risk of fires with extreme droughts, heat waves, but also other challenges such as insects, diseases, and then of course also air pollutants that can locally still exceed critical loads. And in general, there's a relative low net revenue for forest enterprises, which was a risk for forest management. And as you might be aware, forests are indeed a very important sector. So this includes both for instance, the paper industry, but also for wood production of the timber, of course. And then, I mean, as I just mentioned, it's also, of course, a very important carbon sink. So it's very relevant for today's environment and our whole climate challenge. And so the Confederation of European Forest Owners is of view that sustainable forest management implemented by European forest owners and managers today is really key to tackle the challenges that forests are facing. And so within this context, we will present today the role or the importance that space can play in this setting. So think of, for instance, Copernicus data, which provides periodic coverage for forest monitoring. So again, very important today for environmental protection and relevant for forest in the fight against climate change. So on these slides, you can find some of the links. So again, these will be made available after the webinar. You can register to a link where you have access to all the past recordings and presentations. So our first session covered plant health and biodiversity, which is close to the topic that we will discuss today. So for instance, we talked about monitoring plant species, so invasive plant species, also the detection of illegal oil palm plantations. So you can find more about that following this link. And also today, we are very glad to have Tesado, which was featured in this recent Sentinel benefit study. So we will also cover that, but if you want to have a look in more depth, you will find the link here. And I would also like to refer to the Copernicus market uptake, which was a report published back in 2019, but nevertheless, it has quite some relevant information about market uptake of Copernicus data, more specifically on page 50, where you can find a section about forestry. And then on my final slide, I would also like just to raise the point of our success stories on the Eurisy website, where you can really find diverse range of satellite applications. So from mapping services to, again, monitoring the risk of fires, to monitoring illegal deforestations, and even other applications such as for geolocating trees for educational purposes. So you can find more information. And again, these are all linked. So if you can find my presentations after the webinar, you can just follow the links, click on these images, and then get to the success stories.